Hey y'all, this is the Marvelous Mrs. Maker for Coquettish Knits, and today I'm going to show you how to do optional bust darts for your Afterglow top. So you notice on my Afterglow, I have my beginning of round marker, I've got my first front marker, my second front marker, and then my right side markers over here. I'm going to use these to figure out where my bust darts start and end. So the first thing you're going to do is determine if you need bust darts. There's two ways to do this as outlined in the modification manual. I chose to use the bra size chart method and a 34C bra size to determine that I will need to add bust darts to my top, but you can choose either method. If you determine that you need bust darts, head down to the German short row section of the modification manual and begin at row 1, which is a right side row. And you're just going to knit across until you are 10 stitches before your right side marker. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knit across to 10 stitches before my right side marker, and I will meet you over there. All right, so I am now 10 stitches before my right side marker. I've got 10 stitches in between my end of my needles and my right side marker. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish row 1 by turning my work around to the wrong side. For row 2, you'll move your yarn to the front of your work if it isn't already there. And you're going to slip 1 stitch purlwise while at the same time pulling your working yarn up and over the needle, creating a double stitch. So here is that first stitch that I'm going to slip purlwise. And while I do that, I'm going to take my working yarn up and over the needle, and that creates the double stitch. See how it kind of pulls back on that? And now this stitch has 2 legs on this front side of the needle. Now I'm going to move my working yarn back to the front, and to finish row 2, I'm going to purl across to 10 stitches before my beginning of round marker. So I'm going to go ahead and purl all the way across until 10 stitches before my beginning of round marker, and I will meet you over there. Okay, so I have now purled to 10 stitches before my beginning of round marker. And to finish row 2, I'm going to go ahead and turn my work. So now for row 3, I'm going to bring my working yarn to the front of my work. And again, I'm going to slip 1 stitch purlwise while at the same time bringing my working yarn up and over the needle, creating a double stitch. So I have that stitch purlwise, I'm going to slip it off and bring this working yarn up and over, and that creates the double stitch. And you know it's a double stitch because it's got these 2 legs in front, these 2 legs in back, and it's got this hook. The front and the back are hooking each other like that. So now for the rest of row 3, I am going to knit across to 1 stitch before the double stitch that I created in the previous row. So the double stitch that I created in the previous row is right here. You can see that how it's hugging each other. And so I'm going to go to 1 stitch before it. So there's going to be 1 stitch in between where I end in that double stitch that I created in the previous row. So I'm going to go ahead and knit across until I'm 1 stitch before, and then when I get there I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I am now 1 stitch before my double stitch. Here is my double stitch. You can see how those front legs and back legs are hugging each other right there. And I've got 1 stitch left. And to finish row 3, I'm going to go ahead and turn my work around to the other side. And now I'm going to work row number 4. For row number 4, my working yarn should be in the front of my work. And then we're just going to start by creating that double stitch by slipping this first stitch purlwise off the needle, while at the same time bringing our working yarn up and over the needle to the back to create that double stitch. Now I have to bring it back to the front of the work so that I can purl across until 1 stitch before the double stitch that I created in the previous row. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work my way across, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so I am now 1 stitch before my double stitch from the previous row. You can see the 2 legs in the front and the back hugging each other. I've got 1 stitch left. So to finish row 4, I'm going to go ahead and turn my work around. Now I am doing bust darts for a 34C bust, which means that I am not going to do any repeats for my top. However, if you are doing repeats for your tops, it's really easy. What you're going to do is you are going to repeat rows 3 on the right side and row 4 on the wrong side, back and forth for however many repeats that your size calls for. So for example, if your size calls for 2 repeats for a total of 4 rows, you're going to do row 3 down, row 4 back 1 time, and then another row 3 down and row 4 back for a second time. That's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And you're going to do that until you finish your repeats or until your double stitches reach your first and second front markers. If your double stitches reach your front and second front markers, what you're going to do is you're going to do 1 final row and then 1 final round, and then you're going to start the process over for however many rows you have left. So for example, if you have a total of 20 repeats and you finish 12 repeats before you get to the front and second front markers, you're gonna finish those, and then you're gonna do 1 final row and 1 final round, and then you're going to finish up the last 8 repeats of the short rows back and forth before doing 1 last final row and 1 last final round. If you complete your repeats before you get to the first and second front markers, that's great. Then you just go straight to the final row and final round before moving on to your V-neck shaping. So like I said, I'm doing a 34C, which has no repeats whatsoever. So I'm moving straight on to the final row and final round, and I will show you what those look like. So for the final row, you have, you move your yarn to the front of the work if it's not already there. you're going to create another double stitch by slipping the first stitch off purlwise while at the same time moving your working yarn up and over the needle to the back. And then I am going to knit all the way to the beginning of the round, and I'm going to work all of the double stitches that I encounter as I would knit stitches. And I'll show you what that means. So I'm just going to knit across until I reach my first double stitch, and then I'm going to show you what it means to work a double stitch as you would a knit stitch. So I'm going to work my way across, and I will meet you on the other side. Okay, so I've reached my first double stitch, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to work it as if it's a knit stitch. So these two legs that are in the front, you're going to treat both of these as one singular right leg. And the two legs in the back, you're going to treat those as two singular left legs. And I'm going to insert my needle knitwise like that. So I've got the two right legs in front, two left legs in back. I'm going to catch my yarn as if to knit, pull that stitch through, and that is my knit stitch. I work the double stitch as a knit stitch, and yeah, that's how you do that. So I'll show that to you again. So I've got the two legs in front and the two legs in back. I'm going to insert my needle like that, wrap my yarn, pull it through, and that's another double stitch worked. So I'm going to now work all the way around to the beginning of round, and I will meet you when I get there. All right, so I am back at the beginning of my round, and I just have one final round to do. The final row worked all the double stitches that were on the right-hand side of my garment, and the final round is going to work the double stitches that I have left on the left-hand side of my garment. So all I'm gonna do is knit around and knit those double stitches as I would knit stitches. So I'm gonna work my way over to the first one. And you can see that double stitch with the hug on top. Once again, I'm gonna treat those two front legs as one leg and the two back legs as one leg. I'm gonna insert my needle knitwise like that. Wrap the yarn and pull it through. So it's like a knit stitch. Insert my needle knitwise like that. Two legs in front, two legs in back. Wrap the yarn, pull the stitch through, and knit that double stitch. And then I just work my way all the way around to the beginning of round. And that is how you do bust darts. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments.